Boom, we are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It's your boy Nolan Hawkeye Anthony here, and I hope you guys are having a fantastic week wherever you may be, and of course, however you may be listening. We got a jam-packed show for you guys today. We will be previewing Iowa versus Illinois, and of course, Illinois and their head coach is former Wisconsin head coach Bret Bielema, former Arkansas head coach as well, who also has some ties to the University of Iowa. So there's a lot of connections here, lots of connections. So this should be fun. And of course, as an Iowa fan, which all of us are, some of you guys might be Illinois fans, but most of us are Iowa fans here. This is, of course, one of those games where you're on the edge of your seat wondering if Iowa is going to drop a game that they absolutely should not drop. But the bottom line is, before we get into this preview, that it is imperative that we realize is if Iowa is the team to represent the Big Ten West, this is a game that they must win. But before we get into any of that, I want to mention going to 247hawkeye.com. That's 247hawkeye.com. And I really do hope you consider smashing that subscribe button. I know I watch YouTube videos and everybody says that, but when you do that, you're supporting a fellow Hawkeye fan. So at least there's that connection there. But if you don't feel that I've earned your subscribe button or press, I hope you consider commenting, liking, and sharing. It really helps when you guys do that. I've said many times that there's been examples where one or two people share the video out and it just explodes. It really, really does help. And of course, be sure to check in for the pre and the post-game show every Saturday. And I will be putting the PayPal link in the description, just in case you want to support the show. And without further ado, let's get into this. Here we go. Of course, guys, Iowa versus Illinois. It makes me a little bit more relaxed that this game is at Kinnick Stadium. This Illinois team, by the way, the game starts at 11 a.m. Pacific time. That would be 1 o'clock Central time. So that is the time the game starts. I'll be pulling up here momentarily what channel the game will be on. I'm going to read this little excerpt here from Hawk Central, who I'm usually not really a big fan of. As I told you guys many times, the Iowa media, they just aren't fans like you and me are. And that is the bottom line there. But anyways, I will show some love here. Iowa football's quest for a Big Ten West title is still alive. A win against Illinois would make that even more of a possibility. The Hawkeyes host the Illini on Saturday, November 20th in a 1 p.m. Central contest. Fans can watch the game on TV on Fox Sports 1 or stream the game through the Fox Sports app. For Iowa, 8-2, 5-2 in the Big Ten, the Hawkeyes enter Saturday's game following a 27-22 win over Minnesota. Quarterback Alex Padilla made the most of his first career start, throwing for 206 yards and 2 tubs while running for another. Minnesota added a 68-yard touchdown late in the fourth quarter to make things interesting, but Iowa's defense held on for its 7th consecutive win in the Floyd of Rosedale rivalry. The bottom line is, guys, I would be amiss if I did not delve into the Bret Bielema Iowa connection. Of course, I did a video on the most likely coaches to replace Kirk Ferentz in the future. And I did not put Bret Bielema on there. I personally don't think, A, he has shown that he is a good enough coach to be considered as Iowa's next coach. B, I'm not sure he would want it. And those are the two primary things. And C, I think that there are other coaches out there who might be a better fit long-term. But either way, the connection is there. As you guys can see, Bret Bielema is from Illinois. So coaching the Illini, he's coaching his home state team. They are currently 4-6. He's from Prophetstown, Illinois, and he played at Iowa, I believe, under Hayden Fry. He was a graduate assistant and a linebacker coach at Iowa, which it's interesting to say the least. And here is how Bret Bielema has done as a head coach. His time at Wisconsin was a success. And the previous comment I made saying that he has not had enough success to, in my eyes, warrant being the next Iowa head coach. I need to rephrase that. It's obvious he has shown that he can win football games. He did so at Wisconsin. And if it was possible for him to do at Iowa what he did at Wisconsin, Iowa would be in tremendous hands. The problem is that, can he still do that? The game constantly evolves, and that just is what it is. Sometimes coaches who coach for a long time, their style kind of goes off the deep end, and that's that. And they aren't as good as what they appeared to be. So there we see his time at Wisconsin. The dude had 1, 2, 3, 4 10+ win seasons, winning the Big Ten twice, making the Rose Bowl 3 times, and finishing in the top 25 in the coaches and or AP poll, or excuse me, both in, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of his 7 seasons, and finishing in the top 25 in the coaches poll 6 of the 7 seasons. That's impressive. It's impressive. It is impressive. I will give him that. 68-24 record, 37-19 in conference. However, his time at Arkansas was a little bit different. He won there. There we see multiple above 500 seasons, 7-6, 8-5, 7-6. And then he dropped back significantly with a 4-8 season. And I think the potential conclusion you can come to is that Bret Bielema is a decent coach. Perhaps at Wisconsin, the coaching staff he had around him helped him get to the record he had, whereas at Arkansas, perhaps he did not have those same resources. And of course, at Illinois, currently they are 4-6. I'm not sure if they can still make a bowl game. I believe they could if they beat Iowa, and then if they won their last game, I think they could have a 6-win season and make it all the same. Now, before I move on to comparing Iowa versus Illinois, there is one thing that I kind of do want to point out, okay? I think a lot of people are looking at Bret Bielema's first season as a success because, of course, Lovie Smith left and this was a rebuild, and to a certain degree it is, okay? But on the flip side, if you look at the recruiting that Lovie Smith was able to do, and this is my same argument that I make about Scott Frost, if you look at the recruiting that they were able to do before Scott Frost got there or before Bret Bielema got there, it's obvious that there is talent on the Illinois roster, that there was talent on the Nebraska roster before Scott Frost got there. So this is not one of the biggest rebuilds in the world. There is talent in Champaign, and Bret Bielema definitely has it. Another massive aspect to this game is recruiting. And I need to show you guys this next. The bottom line is, folks, that Illinois is a fertile recruiting territory for the University of Iowa. And it always has been. Iowa has definitely gotten better at recruiting, at recruiting, but also producing top tier talent. Maybe they always did, and the recruiting services were a little far behind. I don't know, but it has gotten better all the same. If we look at, literally last year's recruiting class for Iowa, one of the top rated guys is a guy from Illinois. If we look at the 2022 recruiting class, Jacob Bostic, who I did a recruiting profile video on, and homeboy gave me a retweet. Thanks for the love, dude. He is from Illinois himself, and Illinois was hard trying to get him to commit to Illinois. And I am going to show you some other targets that Iowa was in on and was highly considered for, but ultimately lost. So here we go, guys. Here is Illinois, their 2022 recruiting class. And right off the get-go, 2 of the top 3 guys on their recruiting or on their commit list were guys that highly considered Iowa, if not had Iowa as their top school besides Illinois. Ian Pugh had Iowa in his top list, wide receiver out of Oak Park, Illinois. And Aiden Laffery was actually crystal ball picked to choose the Hawkeyes after his official visit, and ultimately chose Illinois. There actually was one more player who was committed to Illinois, Brian Allen, and had Iowa high on his list as well. He decommitted from Illinois, and currently, I believe Iowa and Oregon are the top 2 teams on his list. Now, he is technically from Illinois, but currently he plays football in Connecticut. Bottom line is, this is a huge game for recruiting and showing recruits that Iowa is still the top dog between the Illinois and Iowa recruiting territory. Plain and simply put, Illinois is an area where Iowa fills up a large portion of their recruiting classes, where they get some of the top ranked player on their recruiting classes or in their recruiting classes, and they must continue to do so. Here is the game overview. By the way, going back to the recruiting, Iowa is actually really heavily invested on a late blooming linebacker out of the state of Illinois. Again, the point is simple. It is a huge recruiting territory for the Iowa Hawkeyes, and probably always will be. ESPN Football Power Index gives Iowa an 81.2% chance of winning this game. And I would, I have to say, I agree. This game is at home, and I really don't believe the Iowa Hawkeyes are going to take this game lightly. I will show you guys the Pro Football Focus grades here in a moment. Artur Sikowski, who is the former Rutgers quarterback, has 784 yards, 6 tubs to 2 INTs. Obviously, Spencer Petras is no longer the starting Iowa quarterback, which we will also delve into just that whole dynamic. Tyler Goodson has 813 yards, 6 tubs on the season. He is with 200 yards games. He'll have a 1,000-yard season, which will be pretty big time towards his quest to the NFL. C. Brown is Illinois' leading rusher with 851 yards, 4 tubs. And receiving, Sam Laporta, still the top receiver for the Hawkeyes with 425 yards and 2 tubs. However, the 2 biggest elements about this Iowa Hawkeye team that continue to make the ceiling for this Iowa team very high would be the young wide receivers, Arland Bruce and Keegan Johnson, and the emergence of Alex Padilla, which, again, like I said, we will get into. Here is the game spread. Iowa is a 12.5-point favorite. The over and under is set at 37.5. And here are the team stats. Iowa averages 24.7 points per game compared to 16.8 for Illinois. Illinois gives up 21.6 points per game, whereas Iowa gives up 16.3. And you guys can see the rest. All right, let's look at the Pro Football Focus grades, shall we? Sorry, but before that, I do want to show you guys the last 5 for both teams. As you guys could see, as Iowa fans, we are well aware that Iowa lost to Purdue and Wisconsin back-to-back. And this point is important to make. Iowa is still very much in the hunt for Indianapolis. It does seem like a little bit of momentum, a little bit of enthusiasm has dropped down for the Iowa, or from the fan base towards Iowa, as Iowa is no longer the number 2 team in the country. But all of the rewards, all the realistic rewards, are still very much on the table for the Iowa Hawkeyes. A trip to Indianapolis, and you better believe if Iowa is able to make it to Indianapolis and win the Big Ten title, they're probably very much in the conversation for the college football playoff as well. Definitely on the outside looking in, but it's still in the realm, in my opinion. And an awesome bowl game. That is what is on the table for the Iowa Hawkeyes, and they need to take advantage of it. Illinois has beaten 2 top 20 teams in Penn State, although Penn State doesn't look as good as they were once perceived. And they beat Minnesota, who Iowa just beat. They beat them 14-6. And other teams they've lost to, they lost to Rutgers and they lost to Wisconsin 24-0. I will say that if you're Iowa, the one thing I think you should do is look towards Wisconsin and how they were able to beat Illinois and try to do very much the same thing. All right, guys, Pro Football Focus grades. Here are the quarterback grades for the Iowa Hawkeyes. And the bottom line is this: Spencer Petras, and I've already talked about this ad nauseum, I don't think that everything was his fault. He was 12-4 as a starter. He nearly took Iowa to Indianapolis last year. But of course, the reason Iowa didn't make Indianapolis, you could put a lot of that on him as well, as the 2 games that they lost, there just wasn't much momentum from the passing game. And the reality is that with this specific Iowa team, one of the weaknesses that they have is the offensive line. There is talent on this offensive line on the interior, but the exterior is not up to snuff. And it is what it is. And with that being the case, a quarterback like Alex Padilla, who you can get out in a rollout and make the defense be honest with you and defend you honestly, because you are a threat running the football as a quarterback and potentially opening up some running lanes for the running back. That is what this Iowa Hawkeye offense needs. And it is obvious that Alex Padilla has a connection to Keegan Johnson and Arlen Bruce, who Iowa definitely seems to be going to here moving forward. And here are Illinois' quarterbacks. Woo! Not good at all. 143 and 224. Woo! Okay, sorry about that, guys. Let's move forward. The quarterback position is not a position of strength for the Illinois. What is their last name? Here are by the way, guys, I did not mean to forget Illinois' last names. It really was a brain fart or a brain freeze. The Fighting Illini, I meant no disrespect there. I really didn't. Here are the Illini's wide receivers, pretty lowly graded, but unfortunately, Iowa is not much better. However, again, like I said, there does appear to be a little momentum being built with the Iowa passing game, as number one, Alex Padilla is a little bit better of a downfield passer. He seems to be more of an accurate quarterback with more touch, more finesse. And Keegan Johnson and Arlen Bruce are very explosive playmaking players. And I said that this is the difference between Arlen Bruce and Keegan Johnson and guys like Tyrone Tracy and Nico Reganey. It is obvious that Tyrone Tracy and Nico Reganey at this point in their careers are nothing more than supporting cast wide receivers, which is fine, totally fine. I played collegiate water polo myself at the Division I level. Beggars can't be choosers, y'all. It is what it is. Some of us need to be a supporting member of the cast, and it is what it is. I actually prefer that position sometimes. And the bottom line is Keegan Johnson and Arlen Bruce just give this Iowa an explosiveness that they badly need. And it really opened things up for guys like Charlie Jones to make plays like he has been making. So those are the Iowa wide receiver grades. Arlen Bruce, 71.2, and Keegan Johnson, 68.6. One thing to look at moving forward is Keegan Johnson's drops. Hopefully he gets that nipped in the bud and we don't see that moving forward. Some significant news that happened last week, and I was going to do a video on it, just a quick video regarding Josiah Meeman, who decided to enter the transfer portal. We wish him the best of luck. He was obviously talented coming out of high school, but had some troubles as you know, he was hit with some issues with with the law, as they say. And it's, Iowa has been going with Sam Laporta and Luke Lachey, and Luke Lachey is a redshirt freshman. Not only that, but Iowa has other tight ends on their roster. Now, I also want to say that Sam Laporta is a junior. He might end up leaving after this season to go to the NFL, in which case there is an obvious role for at least one tight end position, because I don't believe that Luke Lachey has shown that he is a number one tight end or even a top two tight end. He's done some decent things, but in the future, there will be some room for opportunity there. And I think he kind of jumped the gun a little too soon. Now, again, I could be totally wrong. Maybe Sam Laporta comes back for senior year, which means yet another year that Josiah Meeman has to wait. And Luke Lachey is still there, in which case he has two guys ahead of him, and there definitely is no room in that situation. But either way, Sam Laporta definitely had a good week last week. I think he has a good connection with Alex Padilla. He was kind of underwhelming me a little bit with his play. He's graded as the 67th best tight end in the country. Here are Illinois, their tight ends right here. It looks like they have a decent tight end in Tip Ryman, so we will see how that goes. Here are the running back grades. By the way, I am going to skip some positions, guys, just because it's going to take too long to do every single position group. Ivory Kelly Martin, who knows if he's going to come back? It does suck. Literally every year the guy has gotten injured. It's just bad luck. It is what it is. But we did get a chance to see him in a significant fashion this year. And, it was somewhat underwhelming. Tyler Goodson has done a little bit better. But my big issue with Tyler Goodson is he doesn't hit the hole sometimes. And I remember my college coach always said to me, you need to take what the defense gives you, because once you get to college, the decisions are just, and the speed of play is just so fast. It is so fast. Sometimes Tyler Goodson needs to just hit the hole and get the 2-3 yards that are there, because if he was a guy like Barry Sanders, where occasionally there was a home run, then that would be great. But unfortunately, we haven't really seen that this year. We did see it last year, but again, we haven't seen it this year. So I would like him to take what the defense gives him. I also would like to see Gavin Williams a little bit more, as he potentially is something that Iowa needs to not only help the offense, but help Tyler Goodson, as Gavin Williams is a bigger back. Here is Illinois, and their running back Chase Brown looks to be a formidable force. He's ranked 42nd with a grade of 83.2. So that should be interesting. Here are the center grades. Of course, the Iowa Hawkeyes have Tyler Linderbaum, the pancake machine, in the middle. Hopefully Iowa decides to just run down the middle. Tyler Linderbaum has a grade of 94.6, just unbelievable. Illinois has a pretty good center themselves in Doug Kramer with a grade of 74.2, and he is the 27th best center in the country. Here are the cornerback grades. Riley Moss was back in action last weekend. He looked great. He looked really, really good, really explosive, because he is an explosive athlete. He is riding high as the 9th best corner in the country. Matt Hankins has dropped a little bit, but still has a really good grade of an 80.5. Jamari Harris did a solid job in there. So did Terry Roberts. One thing that Iowa has slowed down a little bit on is the turnovers or the takeaways, especially at the corner position. That would help Iowa immensely if they can get that back on track, especially in these last two games. And here are Illinois' corners right here. Their corners, who their best corner is graded 89th. This is something Iowa must attack. It is definitely Illinois' corners, as their second highest graded corner is number 220. That is something Iowa must attack. All right, guys, the last position I'm going to do is the linebacker position. Again, this is a position Iowa needs to attack. Hopefully with their tight ends, maybe they can stretch the field a bit against these Illinois linebackers. The highest graded linebacker Illinois has is 124, and that's just not going to cut it. Just not going to cut it. Here are Iowa's linebackers. Let's put the minimum snap count off. And it is a little surprising where Iowa's linebackers are ranked, considering the phenomenal statistics we've seen. Jack Campbell literally had 15 tackles last week. Now, perhaps those 15 tackles are because he's always out of position. Who knows? But this is a little surprising, the ranking that Iowa's linebackers have here, especially since they've been getting so much recognition. I definitely expect Iowa to have at least one linebacker in the first or second all Big Ten team. So that is a little surprising. All right, guys, let's go to our final breakdown, the keys to victory, and get on out of here. Listen, folks, as I've already said, this is a crucial game for multiple reasons. You have Indianapolis, a trip to Indianapolis for the Iowa Hawkeyes, and there is nothing more that Illinois would love to do than to ruin the Big Ten title, or the Big Ten West title chances or hopes of the Iowa Hawkeyes. As much as we want to believe Bret Bielema loves the Iowa Hawkeyes, he definitely wants to beat them this week, and it just is what it is. He would love nothing more than to upset the Iowa Hawkeyes on the road, no less, in Kinnick Stadium. The other thing that is very important about this game is the recruiting, and I showed you guys the significance. There's multiple recruits that Iowa is in on and Illinois is in on, and it is paramount for Iowa to show who is boss between these two teams, where they are as a program and where Illinois is as a program. As for the game itself, Iowa is definitely a tier above Illinois. They have a better defense. Honestly, this is one of the very few games where Iowa has a better offense as well. Illinois, let's see here, only averages 16.8 points per game. I think Iowa can attack the lowly graded corners of Illinois and linebackers. We did not see the defensive line grades, but I definitely think there are positions Iowa can attack. And I'm excited, again, to see the growth of Alex Padilla. There were a few passes last week that probably should have been intercepted, at least one that Minnesota missed. Alex Padilla needs to watch film and make sure that he does not do that again, because the roles could easily be reversed. But other than that, he was cool. He was calm. He made some great passes downfield to Charlie Jones and to Keegan Johnson and to Arlen Bruce, for that matter. So hopefully that can continue. I loved how many times Iowa took chances down the field against Minnesota. Hopefully they do that against Illinois as well. The bottom line is Iowa's offense is basically at the point where they say, if we can run the ball, great. We probably won't be able to run the ball, but if we can, great. But because we probably won't be able to run the ball, we need to take shots downfield in order to score fast and to just open up the run game a little bit. So that'll be something to take or keep an eye on as well. Folks, I'm taking Iowa to win this game 28-18. I think they get a 10-point victory in this game, and they roll to a third consecutive victory and keep their dominance over the Illinois Fighting Illini. I hope that they take the proper care and seriousness of this game. I feel that Iowa's offense is moving in the right direction. And we all know their defense is doing just fine. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. I really hope you guys consider hitting that subscribe button. It really means a lot when you guys do that. You'll be helping a fellow Hawkeye fan out, which definitely helps. And the more support I get, the more content I can create, whether it's sponsorship or just subscribing to the show or, helping out through PayPal or whatever, just giving a little donation. It doesn't really matter. It all helps. So I do hope you guys consider hitting that subscribe button, and be sure to check in for the post and the pregame show every Saturday that we do right here on this channel. And again, I will be putting the PayPal link in the description, and be sure to go to 247hawkeye.com. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy willow. In fact, your feelings don't matter. Love y'all. Go Hawks. Bye.